Alright, we're gonna look at Sgraffito technique. What I did was cover the surface in a green slip, let that dry so I can touch it, applying it on a leather hard clay, and I have my Sgraffito tool here, just a small loop tool. I'm just gonna carve into the clay something cool. Do some leaves because it's green, I guess. Like that. So this will leave the underneath clay body, which will be kind of like a beigeish white color, and then green on the outside. All right, now we're gonna look at wax inlay. So it's very similar to Sgraffito, which we did in the last one. This, I've done a red slip and then coated the surface in wax. Does not need to be a super thick layer of wax, just a nice thin layer is fine. I need the wax to be nice and dry to do this though. So if you are like this Sgraffito, you like what that looks like, but you might say, well, I want this surface inside here to be a different color. Wax inlay is gonna be a good option. So I have my wax on there. I'm gonna carve something slightly more interesting than a leaf. Maybe. And the benefit of this is I can get nice crisp lines and kind of choose my colors in between what the lines are going to be. Nice smiley face. And then I'll take another color. In this instance, I'm going to use a black slip. So I'll have red on black, and I'm going to work the slip into the surfaces. If I just brush over like this, I might get little bubbles or I might miss something. So you kind of want to work it in there. Make sure it's nice and thick in there. Give it a minute or two to kind of set up in there. Doesn't hurt to do 2 layers just to make sure you're getting good coverage in there. Like that. Typically I'm going to let this set up for a couple minutes, maybe 10, and then wipe away my excess slip. And when this fires, my wax will burn away and my inlay will be black and around it will be red. All right, next up we're going to do newsprint transfer. So for this, I've done a layer of white slip just because I wanted a white background on mine. I have a piece of newspaper. I'm going to take slips and I can do any decoration, pattern, whatever I want on here. The nice thing about this technique is if you mess up, you're not messing up on your pot, you're messing up on newspaper, so you can always start over again. Main thing to keep in mind here is that whatever surface is touching the newspaper is going to be what shows up on the surface. So this is going to stick onto it, and whatever is on the paper will be what you see. So if I layered, for example, like this red on top here, I'm not going to see the red first, I'm going to see this brown color on the surface, but that red will come through around it. So I can do that. I can wait for the colors to dry in between if I don't want them to, say, bleed in together like that. Ta-da! So this one I did earlier. I let dry. It's not completely dry, but maybe like leather hard consistency. It's not bone dry. It's still flexible, so I can manipulate it how I want. And I'm gonna apply it onto the surface here. Do a gentle rub like this, and take wooden tool, a rubber rib, something like that, to burnish the slip to the clay. Make sure I have a nice connection. That. And I want to pull off as much paper as I can. A little bit of paper sticks, it's okay. I can give this a little squirt with a spray bottle. I can dip a little sponge here into some water. I don't want to oversaturate, but I want the newspaper itself soaked through all the way. That's what's going to allow it to release from the slip that I've put on there. That. So dab a little bit until that's nice and saturated. And then, if all goes well, peel, slip off, my newspaper off rather, to reveal my pattern underneath, which it looks like in these areas I didn't burnish quite enough, where it didn't connect on there. So that's that. Alright, we're gonna do marbling or swirling. First thing I'm gonna do a base coat. Want the clay nice and wet, so the slip stays nice and wet while I work on it. So we'll do a nice thick coat on here. Sorry. Thick coat. Like that. And then I'm going to add my other color. I'm just using like a little dropper. Get the color on there. Brush works just fine. And then using a tool to drag my colored slip through. So a little more color on here. So we'll load up the color and then pull through. Next up, we're going to look at paper resist. This is where I would cut out little shapes of paper. In this instance, I use newspaper. It's just a nice, easy material to use. I can cut out whatever shapes I want and apply them like that. You can add a little bit of water if you want, which will let them stick on there. So you can be a little bit more strategic in your planning. It's a little bit easier to work with. This way, if I wanted to move it around, I can shift it a little bit. A little more over here. And for this one, I'm just going to do one layer of slip on here to show you how it works. But I can do one shape, layer slip, let that set up, do another shape, layer slip, and I can start building up a lot of different layers on here like that. And I'll use black for this one. So I'm going to apply my slip, trying not to get underneath my paper. And this is a nice technique. You can photocopy like drawings or things like that, print them out, cut them out, and get really nice images that way. And then I can pull away to reveal my shapes. Like that. And then I have this. And I can do glazes on this. It looks like here, my newspaper folded. I got a little slip underneath there. But I can always fix that. Just a nice thing about slip. Yep, paper resist.